Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elden Dogs, just one of your favorite podcasts about Elden Ring. And today, I'm Brad. I'm always Brad, even yesterday. But we are invaded by Gary Butterfield today. He has popped up here in our humble neck of the lands between. Gary, how's it going today?
I don't know how to do the invasion noise. Wah.
All I know is you're covered in red.
Oh yeah. No, that's just because I'm feverish. That's a rash. Don't get close. I got like the Caled cooties.
The Caled cooties. That's the cutest disease you can get in the lands between.
Caled cooties. We're Mikola's minis. Hey, hello everyone. Nice to be here.
Yes, you all probably know Gary from Bonfireside Chat or one of his many other podcasts. I personally, Gary, I've been listening to your show since 2014. I was looking at it today. That's kind of crazy.
A decade of excellence.
A decade of excellence, yes.
Yeah. And for people who are listening, Brad and I are buddies as well. When we were in Milwaukee, we hang out and are jovial. We're buddies.
We always get in a situation where we try and out-thank each other for being so cool and kind with each other.
It is true. That's my Midwest showing. That's your current Midwest and my Midwest roots.
Yeah,
coming through.
Yeah. Good to have you here, Gary. And yes,
thanks.
We are friends. And also, it's just interesting because there's not a lot of other people in the field of podcasters who have talked about Elden Ring for over 50 hours.
You know what? With a few in the proud, there are some YouTubers.
There's a lot.
You have to go into that other ecosystem there.
That's like a whole different field to me, though. YouTubers, I feel like they have to take it a little more seriously. I'm just here to kind of fuck around and talk about hairy fingers, you know?
The thing about the YouTube version of this is that they have to put out content more frequently than I do or than we do. I think we put out stuff every week, but I feel like YouTubers, and I'm not talking shade about Elden Ring YouTubers, like a lot of them do great work, but there is this weird kind of fast follow economy where one of them will come up with a breakthrough, and then there's this trickle down of everybody doing a video, usually giving the original person credit, but also repeating the breakthrough.
Yeah.
You know, either in terms of lore or like some kind of mechanical secret that was found. So as a viewer, like I understand why they do that. As a viewer though, it makes it difficult because you get a lot of repeated content. I'm going to hear 5 different people talk about this, like this week in the DLC, there's a catacomb with a gimmick and there's a statue and it's susceptible to destined death.
Yeah.
And turn it off.
The basilisk.
Yeah. And I've had that pop up in my YouTube recommendation from like 6 different people now.
Yep. Well,
in just different videos, like 10 things you didn't know. And did you know you could do this? And it's like, I didn't know, but now I do. And I know over and over and over again.
I imagine a YouTuber's like out at a bar and just minding their own business and they see a video pop up saying this happens. They spit their drink across the bar.
Yeah. Like pull out a tiny laptop.
We got to get this out
like
now.
Old spy movies, they end up calling back to Central. And like having to get it typed up. It's not their fault. It's just a funny thing about that ecosystem.
Yeah, I have a lot of time at my main job, and I couldn't even name all the different YouTubers I follow, but my algorithm knows me. So, all right, 30 minutes on this topic, and I've reached the breaking point so many times where I just start shaking my head. It's like, I don't know if I can listen to 30 minutes on this one coffin anymore.
Yeah, it's a cool coffin. I was trying to think of if there's any coffins in history that I have 30 minutes for, you know, and it's difficult. There are a couple famous coffins. There are some coffins that are important to me.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Like family members and stuff, but half hour is just a long time for just text.
Yeah. I don't know. You mentioned this the other day on Bonfireside Chat about how you think this is probably the most complicated story that you still like.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about that a lot since you said that because it's Elden Ring is just there's so many different facets to the story, so many different strands, and on the surface level, I like the bones, the core of it, but then, there's that one flavor text sometimes. And then there's a 3-hour YouTube video about a sentence. And but it's like still kind of warranted. And
it's all, as long as everyone's having fun, it's cool.
Yeah.
To me, when I say, the most complicated story I like, it's because it mostly holds together, but it doesn't have to hold together in 100%. I am not trying to necessarily justify every single sentence in the game. I've said this before on shows, but I'll repeat it here just for discussion. Something I think about a lot with any kind of analysis of a complicated work is that there is a temptation on behalf of people doing the analyzing to assume going into it that there's nothing arbitrary can exist, that every shot was called with 100% accuracy.
Yeah.
And we know that's not true. Both, like, anyone who's created anything knows that's not true. Like, if you've written a book or if you've, written an album or you've done anything, that it's not true. But we specifically know it's not true of this. Like, FromSoft doesn't work that way. When we read these design workbooks, they're full of anecdotes about, this was a leftover thing from a previous storyline and we kind of kludged it together.
Yeah.
They're doing that all the time. So there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make the story any worse. It just means that every once in a while you can run into something and it doesn't make sense and you don't have to move heaven and earth to make it make sense.
Maybe this dungeon, they just didn't know what to put there. So they're like, let's just put a bunch of ogres in there and that's fine.
Yeah, there's a troll in there.
Yeah.
How'd he get in there? I don't know. What's he doing there? I'm not sure. He can't even fit through the door.
Top 10 reasons why trolls are sometimes in dungeons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the number one is we needed a boss. We decided to have this guy here. Like there are things that do, just figuring out which threads are worth pulling is kind of the game, and there's no harm in pulling the threads if they don't need pulling, but it does for me as a fan, as somebody who likes listening to people think of ideas about this game and stuff, it does eventually become a currency that's spent.
Yeah.
I only have so much patience.
I always feel like a little bit of pressure though, too, being a podcaster who's specializing, in Elden Ring. I feel like some pressure, like the Glowmide Queen, I have to know. And
yeah,
but have you read a lot of George R.R. Martin's work?
I've read a decent amount. I've read some short stories, and I've read just the first 3 Game of Thrones books. The 4th one defeated me.
Okay,
it's on my backlist, but I love the first 3 of them, and I love the short stories I've read. Sci-fi stuff mostly, and then a couple of the wild cards.
How's the wild cards? That's one that I haven't touched.
It's pretty fun. Like, I'm a superhero dork, so that same kind of deconstructionist approach, that he does with fantasy.
Yeah.
With Game of Thrones done to superheroes is kind of fun, and it's playing in a lot of X-Men spaces where, like, for most people who get this blessing, it actually fucking sucks, and they're just pariahs.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. It's a little stylized, but it's got a nice, I like it. So that's something I've on my list of things to go deep on if I ever get a million extra hours.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because, the Song of Ice and Fire world, one of the best things that George does is in like the, not in the main series, but in the expanded universe, he just has so many different, organizations, groups, religions, and throwaway lines about like this mysterious like black stone, or way out in Essos, like some people that are made out of mud. And he's so good at world building, but also it's okay to have a mystery. And I've kind of come around
so many
on
mysteries. That. Yeah, it's like Ice and Fire is so mystery filled.
Yeah,
there are the mysteries that. And there are different kinds of mysteries, and that's, I think, one of the strengths of his as a writer, and it's something I see in Elden Ring and FromSoft as well, where there are mysteries you are definitely meant to solve, and then there are sports mysteries that you can solve if you'd like, but I don't necessarily think that I don't necessarily know that George R.R. Martin has something for the the area in Essos with the butterfly plague.
Yeah.
Right. I don't necessarily think there's a whole lot more to that other than that it sounded fucking cool. And it sounds like a rumor. It sounds like something somebody would say at a dock and be like, yeah, you can't go there. I hear tell about men who get killed by butterflies. And that just cool. It's evocative, and then he also sees in these mysteries, like you're definitely meant to solve, like the parentage of the main characters is the big obvious one.
Yeah.
But like things like, what happened at the tournament of Harrenhal, stuff like that. Like there are enough clues there. There's enough stuff to figure that out. And it's really similar to FromSoft. And Elden Ring obviously has the connection because of George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
But that's been true of FromSoft the whole time. Like there's a real consonance in their storytelling. Like FromSoft also does that. And kind of always has. And it's really freeing once you realize that there are mysteries you're meant to solve. There's mysteries that you can solve if you like, and you take what you want from it. It's a buffet. You take what you want, and then you decide when you come away with something. Like Elden Ring is my favorite narrative that they've done. Like I love, it's probably my favorite FromSoft game. It's either that or Dark Souls 1 because of first blush stuff. But yeah, I love the story of Elden Ring because of what I got from it, from the mysteries I've figured out and the mysteries I've decided to let. Like I don't really get the Glow-Eyed Queen. I'm with you.
And I think it's one of those things where I prefer to not have answers. Like when Ronnie goes out into the woods and meets some crazy witch, that is perfect that way. I don't need to know the witch's parents, where she went to school. It's fine that way.
It's also a thing where you have to figure out importance as well. Like even if there is an answer to the Glow-Eyed Queen, exactly what the Glow-Eyed Queen is, it's not very important to the story. It doesn't seem like, it's affecting current movers and shakers that much. And it doesn't feel like it's tying too much into existent kind of resonant themes to me, where it just, I don't know, there's no harm in just like that's kind of a mystery. That just sounds fucking cool.
Maybe things just look heavy metal and that's enough.
Exactly. It sounds awesome.
So what was your favorite bit of lore from Shadow of the Erd Tree?
Oh, that's a fun question. I really, really like the dark origin of the jars.
Oh yeah.
This thing that we all thought was the goofy comedy character,
the little cuties,
the little cuties. Like I have a little statue of one of those because I think they're cute, and that being a long history reflection of a really torturous thing.
Oh my God! The first time it crawls out in the first jail under Bellarat, I crap my pants, man. I was so excited.
Well, and just reading about it, like you go to, the dark reflection of Jarburg, you go to the Bonnie village and it's not so Bonnie, it's
in fact un-Bonnie.
It's un-Bonnie. It's the Bonitude is zero. and you realize like, oh, this is a thing that is being carried forward into the Lands Between as a like echo of this incredibly perverse thing that was done to America's people.
Yeah.
Almost like whether it's these, the jars at the foot of the Erd Tree, if this is like reclaiming it as an idea, or if these sentient ones were an after effect, and you look at like, the idea of in the Shadow of the Erd Tree, they're trying to put them together to make them, saints.
Yeah.
And you look at the translation stuff, they don't mean literally, saint, like religious saints, they just mean very good people. And then you look at them in the Lands Between, and the sentient jars we talk to are great people.
Yeah.
It's all Jarbjarn and Alexander who are like
Jarbjarn.
Absolutely stand up.
What's up, cuz?
Like maybe it kind of worked. Yeah. Like I would die for Jarbjarn. That's a saint. All of that stuff is exceedingly good.
Yeah.
I was really happy with that. And then everything, I was really happy to have Saint Trina.
Oh yeah.
Kind of closed up as a loop. I really like it defining Saint Trina and what they did with Saint Trina. And that's like very beautiful and sweet, I think.
Yeah, I think my favorite bit of lore, so far anyways, I just am so fond of Ymir and all of the dialogue around him. Just the strong desire to be a single mother in the Land of Shadow is very tough. But I just love so much that dialogue he says about everything was formed in a burst in the stars long ago and no one knows what's going on. And I'm like, guys, it's planet Earth.
Yeah. I have a real weakness whenever anyone in a FromSoft game expresses ambiguity. Like as something might not, the Dark Souls 2, the best ending, the Aldia ending. Where he's like, there is no path. It's beyond light and dark. we walk it because that's our lot. That's what we do. The questing is the purpose, like trying to figure out is the purpose, not necessarily the answer. And this idea that like this happened, anyone who says that they know what happened is fooling themselves. It feels a little bit like it's talking directly to me and to us.
Yeah.
When that happens, and I really like it. We don't know, we don't get it. And it also, again, it has resonance with the real world, which we don't understand to the degree that maybe we'd hope to.
But there are numerous religions of people. Not to get philosophical here, let's lighten it up a little bit. We got a question from Patreon from Kip. Gary and Brad, you must replace the use of fingers in the Elden Ring lore with another body part. Which do you choose?
Really, really trying to get us to say penis.
Oh, that's actually my pick.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like the natural pick.
Well, my instinct was maybe tongue, but then I thought penis would be funny. But then you can't just say penis in any FromSoft game. It'd have to be the most obscure, esoteric, weird term. So I went with the membrum virile.
There we go, membrum virile. And then I like the idea of there being the two membrum virile, and then all of a sudden being a reveal when you find the other three.
And they're constantly trying to crucible each other.
Yeah, just like I've heard they invented a pill that allows two people with membrum viriles to crucible together, and they made that legal now as well.
They just like inchworm along instead of like the crawl.
I'm gonna say lung.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go creepy with it.
Just
something
air
internal.
moving in and out of it.
Yeah, it's always breathing.
They could talk about the stink of the air that comes out.
And like a tri-lobed lung. Like most lungs we understand come in packs of 2, but why? I don't see any reason why not having a 3-pack or a 4-pack. Let's say lung.
So this isn't your first FromSoft DLC. What were your expectations going into Shadow of the Erdtree, and how did they stack up?
I was expecting, so I think FromSoft does not always give us answers. And when they do, sometimes they can be redundant answers or feel like they just had more questions. Like I'm not, me and Cole are both on the record not being super satisfied with the Dark Souls 3 DLCs in terms of what they do to wrap things up and answer questions. And then I think about, I love the Old Hunters, but that DLC, while answering some questions, also, and this is something I've been frustrated about the whole time, now has people in that world discovering outer gods from two sources. Like they found one underground and found one in the ocean.
Yeah.
And that feels unsatisfying to me. So I was not expecting it to be as coherent. I was expecting it to be much more of a left turn and not explain as much stuff as it did.
Yeah.
Not have as many ties. And it doesn't, not everything is tied together, but like a lot of things are. Most things are.
A surprising amount actually gets some good conclusions, or at least a thesis statement on what was happening.
It's the most cohesive they've done since Artorias of the Abyss. The first one, which I think is really cohesive in terms of relating to the main story.
I imagine it's probably bigger than you were anticipating.
Way bigger.
Yeah.
Well, they lied. Part of it was because Miyazaki was like, yeah, it's about as big as Limgrave.
I don't trust the thing that man says.
No, he lies. That's another thing, and there's nothing malicious about it. He's a beautiful, sweet little man.
He's got that little smile he does. I'm like, you fucker.
He absolutely does. He's got a real, I know what you're getting for Christmas smile.
He has to, he's got that look. He knows you're going to love it, and he just waits. Yeah.
He's pointing to a Christmas tree and going, why don't you open that one first? That's kind of his facial expression. If there was an emoji for him, it'd be like, colon, open that one first, end colon, and then it'd make a little emoji, a little Miyazaki smile. Yeah.
That damn smile.
That was the biggest thing. And then I knew it would be hard. I was not expecting the Shadow Tree fragment system to kind of work how it did. I still think it's a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's neat, but it's a little awkward. Once you kind of get it, it's fine. I think that the difficulty ends up being okay outside of the last boss, which is too much, but I've come to peace with most of the other bosses in it. But that was a little bit of a rude awakening as well.
Yeah,
and that, I guess, that was something I expected more or less.
I was surprised to hear people complaining about the difficulty. I was just so excited to get my ass kicked again. The Shadow Tree fragments, it's interesting. You have to come up with a new way to have a leveling system to kind of zero everyone out again. I just think that if they had extra fragments and then you didn't have to collect all of them to max your level.
Yeah.
But because I think you mentioned it, like you tried to go find the ones you were missing. I was fine through, a good chunk of it. And then I hit that final wall of the final boss. And I'm like, well, I just got to go checklist it right now, which is my least favorite thing to do.
Yeah, it's not. I think the final boss has a lot of problems. I'm kind of surprised they haven't patched that or something. Like I don't know. I've yet to I've met a couple contrarians who are like, no, this is perfect in every way. Most people I've talked to feel like it's a bit much. When
I saw that Let Me Solo Her was posting that they were struggling for like 5 hours straight, I thought something was probably wrong then.
And they also had to come up with a pretty broken, gimmicky build to do it. I don't know if you've watched the Let Me Solo Them take on the final boss, but they do this really weird thing where they have 3 copies of the same weapon with different infusions, so they can always have 3 statuses.
Oh wow!
Stacked on them, and stuff. It's really weird to watch. And still, they also die during that second phase sometimes, which like they got to the point where Melania was, clockwork.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I struggled too. My second time beating Radon, I did like a cheese strategy that they've since patched out, but mostly I just did 50 rune arcs in 10 hours of my life, and that was and that wasn't a good option either.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned excited to get your ass kicked. There are people for whom that kind of like 10 hours just kind of over and over is really the appeal.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've come to like learn about these games and talking to a lot of people about them is that because they're really complicated and rich works, they appeal to different people for different things, which sounds like an obvious statement. But the thing that's different about it is the thing that most appeals to somebody can be the thing that you absolutely hate the most.
Yeah.
So like that idea of, this was, 10 hours and just so much grinding and doing this checklist. There are people for whom no matter how much effort they put at the front of the equation, all of that is additive and ends up in the end. That just makes it all the sweeter when they do it. And I'll see people who are just like, no, that boss fight is really good. Yeah, it took me like 2 days and I had to respec 5 times and like I had to go get all my fragments and everything, but it's so good. I felt so good after doing it and it looks so cool. And they love it. And I don't have that. That's my least favorite thing about these games.
Yeah.
I really don't like running in place. I don't like that feeling. But then there are some of those people also don't like the same thing I do. You'll see people online going back to the Shadow Tree fragment thing who are complaining about having to go get those because they want to treat it like a boss rush. They want to replay the DLC and just go from boss to boss like they're playing Sekiro and just hit them one after another. And it's really difficult because they're not going out of their way to get those fragments. And they're like, why do I have to explore to like fight this boss? And I'm like, why do I have to fight this boss to explore? And you get these kind of like yin yang experiences where people are on opposite ends of the same issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Elden Ring is such a perfect meeting of gameplay and lore where I feel like you could equally just be into the world design and kind of how multi-branching and there's just so much happening with all the NPCs, so much you can miss. But then you also just have the gameplay, which we had a speedrunner on Catalyst and
oh, cool.
And
the Catalyst is great.
I love speedrunners because I'll ask them about video games. We had Spike Vegeta on to talk about Final Fantasy IX. He's like, I honestly have no idea what happens in this game. I have beaten it 50 times.
That's incredible. Because usually when people are shooters for, JRPGs, it's usually the story. Mm-hmm. The idea of somebody just going in that's purely systems and optimization, for like a game that has a lot of cutscenes.
Yeah.
And stuff in it. That's great. That's funny. Oh. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's true to all video games to a certain degree, but I feel like it's really true.
It's Elden Ring and FromSoft actually delivers like 100% on both sides of that argument.
Yeah, Yeah. Agreed. Like that is one of the fun things about it. And I wish that in a community, like I want people to come together with that kind of thing. You know, there's or like a fandom, because there's people who will be cranky on both sides of that. You know, and I'm not immune to this. Like I've been cranky about it before. I get frustrated with, you know, just treating these things as boss rushes, you know, as opposed to, you know, text. But ultimately, like we're all lucking out. We're all eating good.
Oh yeah.
You know, what could be wrong with that?
We have another question I wanted to bring from Patreon from Phil, Just Phil. They said, I'd be curious to hear the process for both Bonfireside Chat and the Dogcast when it comes to sectioning out the From games for episodes. Are you going through the first playthrough and keeping mental or physical notes, or do you savor it and save the notes for a second run?
So me and Cole have a division for notes. Right now he does notes for Bonfireside Chat, and I do notes for Real Lich Hours, which is our Baldur's Gate 3 podcast.
Fantastic show.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm real proud of it. The way that Cole does those is he takes loose notes on the first playthrough. We both sprint through the game. Like we take time off. We're not going to put out an episode for a little bit. And we get through the game in about a week when a new one comes out. And Cole will take loose notes. And we're not, when I say sprint, we're exploring everything. We're just not doing anything else. You know, like we're playing as more than a full-time job.
Yeah, you're not eating or doing a lot of sleeping.
I have dinner with my wife and watch X-Files and then sleep, and that's basically it.
Sounds like a good life.
The rest of the time is it's kind of fun, and then you wait, then you get up from it, and it feels like you know, when you go see a movie in the afternoon
and it's still light outside.
It feels exactly like that.
Yeah.
Getting up and like, and then Cole does we do a second playthrough, which is bit by bit, where we kind of take those loose notes of areas and then go through the area paying more attention and trying to space it out for time. So we end up with the beginning of the season, we have a rough guide as to what will be in what each episode, but that is really changes. You know, we'll have an area and it's like, oh, this will be 2 episodes. And once we get there, there's more to talk about. And it ends up being 3.
Yeah.
Things like that.
That's largely the same for what we do on Elden Dogs here. Tyler and I both will do a full playthrough, and it's kind of just vibes and get through it as quick as you can. And I've already done 2 full playthroughs of Shadow of the Erdtree, but the second one I go slow and I look. It's Vextra Life map is really my best friend on that.
Yeah.
You just set it to for, you know, armor, weapons, shields, ashes of war, spells, incantations, key items, and besides that, it's a lot of outlines, and I do like the feeling of getting an outline done. I have the strategy guides as well, but we got through most of the base game before the strategy guides hit. So we've also done like a 6-part bestiary series, which sounds insane, but it's mostly just me and Tyler goofing off, which is fun too.
Talking about monsters, which is the Vextra Life map is really, really useful for location, like item placement stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't, other people have this. I don't remember where an item is necessarily, unless I've gotten it for like every playthrough. Like, you know, I can go get the meteorite staff, you know, in a new playthrough of Elden Ring, but I don't remember, you know, where
is that Northwest
other things
Caelid?
Yeah. It's in that little village, that little swampy village, the Caelid Cuties.
I can't remember the year I started dating my wife.
But I remember that, you know, but I don't remember where everything is. So I just use that map. And a little pro tip, I don't know if you have access to this. Something we will use as well is you can find a text dump.
Yeah.
Of the game. We use that for, you know, I want to know everything the game textually, like we're going to make suppositions as well, but I want to know all the text about the Glowmide Queen.
Yeah.
In one place. You can do that.
I've used that text dump and I looked up Membrum Virile not once.
Oh, not once.
The whole game.
Yeah. That's great. I would be, if FromSoft, that would be the most surprising thing they could do. Like the next game is a South Park-esque, you know, fancy language, but mostly about dicks and balls. Because they've done, you know, there's a lot of Mensis stuff in Bloodborne. You know, there's a lot of lady part stuff.
Oh yeah.
And like, you know, like if you end up having, you know, Lord, you know, Joffrin of the Vast Efrons or something like that would be a real left turn. I would be surprised.
And they'd say
Vas deferens is a good answer for that fingers thing as well.
we're going to change your answer to Vas deferens.
Vas deferens, yeah. Those little guys.
Phil also says, Gary, appreciate the years of pods from Duck Feed.
Oh, thank you very much.
Of course.
I appreciate you.
Did you find the ending satisfying for Shadow of the Erdtree? Not the actual boss battle, but did you feel the conclusion, our tiny little scene? Did you like that?
I think that there should have been a Mikola ending.
In the main, like once you do the rest of the main game?
Yeah, I think that would have solved it for me. You get his broken rune, and then you can use it at the end.
Yeah.
You know, siding with Mikola shouldn't have been a non-standard game over, I think. You know, every other horrific future, you could say, yeah, like I'm down with that. You know, Frenzied Flame this shit, wipe it clean. Like you can say that and you can work towards it.
You know, some days I'm all about that Frenzied Flame.
I love that ending and all. I'm glad it's in all the FromSoft games.
Yeah.
I love the wipe the slate clean endings. Mm-hmm. And as much I think that, you know, the Age of Mikola would not be the paradise that the Mikola thinks it is, obviously. And paradise by coercion is no paradise at all. Right?
Yeah.
But saying like, yeah, I'm on board with this, I think would have done a lot to shore it up. The actual little cutscene you get and everything is a little bit unsatisfying. But I don't know what they could have put there. That would have been good. I think it would have had to have been for the whole Lands Between. It would have had to have been an ending for the base game.
The ending is Mikola looking at the camera saying, the identity of the Gloam-Eyed Queen is this person.
Yeah, it is. And then it says, coming soon, Armored Core 7. Yeah. It's a little sizzle reel for Frame Gride 3.
Yeah. It was kind of wild that the DLC was so straightforward in many ways. Like, everyone was saying it would be Mikola, and I was kind of expecting it to be something a little different. Just the other day, I was in Rykard's arena, and the fact that Rykard's head is still just squirming around, I really want to just, like, jump into that head or eat some of it and see what happens.
Yeah. Rykard is one of the... like if you think of the Rykard storyline as a relatively simple storyline, like it completes, you know, as just this other force, this world devouring serpent as another thing. But it's one of the ones that gets the least amount of text, you know, as one of these things. Like it's not quite Gloam-Eyed Queen, but like Formless Mother levels of text, you know, compared to things that get a lot more. You know, the greater will and the the currents, the astral currents and stuff. They get a little bit more talking about them. So
Miyazaki's got that little smile, but George R.R. Martin does, like, he says cryptic things and does that little giggle of his. He recently was saying something about, and there's rumors about an Elden Ring something in production, but I'm not going to say anything. Giggle. What would you want any sort of like limited TV series or standalone film or anything involved in Elden Ring in that media style?
I'd be curious about it. I don't know if on your your podcasting journeys you've spent any time with Dark Souls adaptations.
No.
They're not good. And it sucks that they're not good, but they're not good. The Dark Souls comics are bad. There's a Dark Souls novel that I couldn't get through.
There's a novel.
There's a novel. The tabletop role-playing game is not very good. It's a 5e adaptation, but it doesn't do a good job of adapting the tone or mechanics of it. The board game is really rough. It has a really bad history of adaptation. And I think it's because it's a fundamentally misguided thing. Like most of how you interact with these games is through interaction, which you can't do.
Well, any degree of separation from the creator, it's just like getting diluted or misconstrued.
Yes. Yeah. And I also, even if you didn't have that separation, I don't have any reason to think that the creators of this video game would make a good movie. They're different skill sets, yes, they have a visual eye and a storytelling eye, but they're entirely different kinds of storytelling on a completely different scale.
Yeah.
Like you get the story of Elden Ring and the DLC through playing them for 140 hours and letting that process in the background while you're not playing. it's when that stuff kind of comes together, and then like reading things from other sources, talking to your friends and everything. That is a really hard thing to adapt to a directly told story.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why that would work. So I think the best that we could hope for was something that it was cool but different, cool but separate.
Yeah.
And that I'd be curious about. Like, I would like to see some of these things realized. Just seeing a cool monster, seeing what a non-video game cutscene Rykard would be like is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe they get a really, get Ralph Ineson in there, like get a really charismatic actor, make it a cool performance. There'd be joy in that.
Or it's like Gilbert Gottfried, and you didn't even anticipate that.
They from the grave.
Yeah.
They get the Gilbert Godfrey. They've deep faked him, and that's how they're doing it. It's the cast is all dead. The all AI dead cast of Elden Ring the movie.
Well, we can do it.
And that's Gilbert. Who would Gilbert Godfrey play in it? He could be
Egon.
What's his? Yeah, there we go. Bale. Bale, you jerk.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too, and I'm like, I'm so wary of it. I know there's one good adaptation from Bloodborne that Cole shared with us at that one panel we did, and I really like that.
That is pretty good, and Bloodborne has the other Bloodborne adaptations are also better than the Dark Souls ones.
Yeah,
that I've read. And there's a Dark Souls. There's one comic I haven't read, which is a prequel.
Okay.
It takes place during the Age of Fire of Dark Souls. That's the only one we haven't done because the other ones have not inspired confidence. But the Bloodborne one is pretty good. And the way they did that was having another story that kind of takes place in that world. And that would be a cool approach. But it's hard for me to think that they would risk a TV show on that.
Yeah.
Like a TV show, I think they'd want it to be more direct to get interest. But like an Elden Ring comic that was like, this is a story from like Kenneth Height's kingdom.
Dude, just make it be a 10-part episode series on Kenneth Height and the day-to-day ruling of Stormvale.
Yeah, Tight Heights.
Oh, Tight Heights, man.
And just, he's trying to integrate the demi-humans and stuff. It'd be like The Wire.
Okay.
Like he's managing the whole thing. There's different class strata, going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
Prez Height. Yeah. I'm into it. Or just Heights. And then it would be a lot like The Wire, like have it take place in like, I don't know, Neo Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neo Stormvale. Bryant on our Patreon wanted to ask, he knows you play tabletop games. And since we were talking about board games, are you curious about the Kickstarter Elden Ring board game, or did you back it? Have any thoughts on it?
I have not backed it. Again, that batting average has been low. I have a couple of those in part because I backed them, and then also because friends backed them and got rid of them. So I have like the complete Kickstarter Bloodborne board game.
Wow.
Which is mostly cool for minis.
Yeah, I love looking at the minis.
It's sick to have like an Abritus. And just there's an Abritus. I can scoot it around and stuff. But they just haven't, I don't think they've done a great job with them. Some of them are okay, and you can house rule the Dark Souls board game specifically into being good. I've heard the Bloodborne board game is good, but it takes a long time to set up, and I haven't tried it yet. I've just fucked around with the little minis and stuff. So I'm curious. I need to look and see who designed it. If it's the same people who designed these other ones, I'm a little bit less curious. So I have not backed it.
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear.
Yeah, I backed it on Kickstarter. I got like the base pledge or something, and I already anticipate that I'm probably never going to actually play it, but I will pick it up and look at it a whole bunch fondly and say, "Oh, look at that! It's a cute little guy right there." But
nothing wrong with that.
No, but they sent the manual to be proofread. It's like, here's what the manual will look like. If you want to take a look at it and proofread, you find any errors, let us know. And any manual that has chapters and 50 pages and stuff, it's a few steps further than Monopoly. And I don't even understand that game. So
they're also crowdsourcing their copy editing.
Yep.
That's weird.
Man, I've had not a lot of success on Kickstarter in my life.
I've got in my closet right now haunting me the all out Kickstarter for the Divinity Original Sin.
Okay.
board game, which like a lot of people from the video game worked on that. So I'm optimistic about it. But it is like 7 boxes with a 50-page manual as well. And I'm just like, someday I'm going to do this, or so I say. This might just be something that my widow has to deal with. Not to be too dark with it, but this might just be widow work, is what we like to call that. But optimistically, I will at least try it. But I too have had bad luck with Kickstarters.
I know.
Except for your tabletop, though, Matt Colville, his company MCDM puts out stuff, and it actually comes out, and it's good. He's got a game coming out soon. Their tabletop system, but before that, it was a bunch of D&D supplements, and they're usable and cool.
Yeah.
So that is a real practical Kickstarter. Get a shout out to that.
Well, I'm waiting on my physical rewards for so many games right now that have been out for quite a while. Mm-hmm. But I do know that at some point in my life, I will start putting the Elden Ring manual by my bed. I'll read a few pages before I go to sleep, and after 3 months, I might finish it. And then I'll have to reread it, and it's just a big investment. So I'll give it its fair shake, but we'll see.
Board games are a whole ass hobby. Like me and my wife recently bought a house. One of the reasons we wanted more space was because we wanted a place to like engage with our hobbies.
Yeah.
Like right now we're in a pretty small apartment, and this new place will have a space for gaming. So we have these cool board games we bought, with this idea towards being able to play them. The goal is now we can. So hopefully I will actually be able to report about some of these things and talk about them, and also, have used my money for them as opposed to just nothing.
Yeah.
Soon.
Here in Milwaukee, the Dogcast, we record all of our episodes pretty much in person. So before we had a dedicated space for that hobby, I'd have to set up all the microphones, recording equipment, and take it down and do it in our dining room. And eventually we just kind of set aside an entire room for that. So it's got a permanent setup, and that has just been wonderful for my mental health.
It's the number one way to make sure you do anything.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do something, you have to make it easy. Mm-hmm. It's why there should be garbage cans on every corner in every city.
It's why I never play my PSVR.
That's literally the same. Like I don't fuck around with my Quest, because it's in a box in the closet and it's not charged. And I have to clear this area around my computer. Yeah, it's a huge pain in the ass, so I just don't do it. Yeah, it's a bummer, but it's a truth. Like I found that to be true for most of my life. Like when I want to make something, if I want to do something, I have to make it easy.
Well, and then it's so easy too. If anyone's over here drinking, I'm like, let's just go record this. Guys, this conversation's gold. We got to save it. And
you got the content disease.
I got the content disease. Even when I'm not recording, I'm thinking about what's next down the pipeline. Or, we watched Furiosa and then Fury Road yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we got to record right now. I got to talk about this.
Yeah. I when I go out and choose do something on weekends and stuff, I'll be like, will this make, and it doesn't have to be good content to go, but I will think my wife will say hey, do you want to go, hey, my wife likes musicals.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you want to go see Beetlejuice the musical? And the answer to that is no. But I will go in part because I love my wife and I want to keep her company.
I'm sure the set design would be fun enough.
Set design was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The set design was super cool. But part of it is I get to talk about Beetlejuice the musical on a show.
Yeah.
That's the content disease, baby.
It
stops you from being a person. It's not good.
Hearing about Borderlands just bombing, I'm like, I'm so much more interested in it now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like I got to see that at some point. It'll be for work.
It's tax deductible.
Adaptation decay. We will be tax deductible. We will be miserable when we're watching it, and then just angry and kind of sad while talking about it. But it will make a fun episode.
We have gotten ourselves into a little spot of the universe where everything Kevin Hart does is tax deductible for us.
It's a cool place to be. Thanks, Kevin.
Nailed it.
This episode brought to you by Kevin Hart. Yeah. I had a Lyft driver the other day, because I do this full time, so I'm sitting a lot. And he was saying, he's like, yeah, I get my chiropractic adjustments and massages and stuff tax deductible because I sit all the time. And it was a real game changer. I was like, oh shit, I probably could do that.
Yeah.
I could go be getting massages and be like, no, it's a work hazard.
When
I sit too much.
Every single movie that I went to last year, all of my like streaming subscriptions.
Same.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just all on that list now. And, Game Pass, video games, anything.
It's and I say do it,
Yeah.
It's I don't even think it's that. It sounds like we're confessing to something, but I think it's
legit.
I don't know. It's super legit. And also the kind of shit that real businesses claim for stuff is ludicrous.
I didn't want to watch Madam Web. I had to.
Yeah. I have a curiosity on Madam Web. I've still not seen that one. As one of the internet's premier Venom fans.
Oh, man. Ironically or for real?
No, pretty for real. I think they're funny. Funny in that like they don't make movies this way anymore.
Yeah, it's weird when Sony hits the sweet spot. Funny. They can. It's rare.
It's super rare. But like, I don't know. The Venom 1 and Venom 2 are both very funny movies to me.
French fries and tater tots, or whatever he says.
Yeah, just Eddie. Just really, there's a scene in the second one where they get into a fight and Venom is throwing all of Eddie's appliances out the window at him while they're having a domestic dispute. And it's just incredible. Like Venom's saying things like matters of the heart matter to me, Eddie, and shit like that. It's like, it's incredible. Like very funny. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that third one.
Yeah. I got another question for you from Patreon. Having now done a base game and a DLC, would you say you prefer the open world structure or the sequenced linear structure of earlier From games?
It's a good question. I think that on repeated playthroughs, I like the linear sequence better. On the first playthrough, I like the open world sequence better.
Yeah.
Going through and playing Elden Ring a second time, playing the DLC a second time, it does lose a lot.
Oh yeah.
For me, it's still great. It's fun to pay attention. I always find new stuff, but it loses a lot. Like that, anything could be down here. Feeling that only spends once, and it's incredible.
And it's an arteria leaf.
Yeah. Like it's a cool melted mushroom. Hell yeah, add it to the stack.
Actually, mushrooms might be how the NPC spirits communicate because they're always found. Sorry.
I've seen something like that.
Yeah. My brain is just full of bullshit from this game.
It's fucking poison. Yeah, I know. It's great. Imagine being teleported to like medieval times and having this be your skill set.
Yeah.
They immediately harvested for food. As a person.
Don't ask me about agriculture. Jesus.
Yeah, it'd be like, listen, no, I can tell you about crop rotation, and they're just already roasting me on a spit. Just the like this man has eaten Doritos in his life. He has a savory texture that we've never experienced. But on subsequent playthroughs, I like the dungeon after dungeon feeling a lot. Like I can sit down, if you said right now, like, hey, play Dark Souls, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And I would just play Dark Souls 1 and have a great time.
It's a little more curated. Like, hey, it's like knows what you're going to be getting. So all the moment to moment it feels a little more, not scripted, but organic in a pleasing way. Whereas I agree. My first playthrough of, the base game and the DLC for Elden Ring, fantastic. It's so much that feeling of exploration is unparalleled.
Yeah. And just especially the DLC with like going, finding little hidden corners that lead to whole new areas that have whole new answers and mysteries. Yeah, exactly. Fucking, going down to the Abyssal Woods.
Man.
Stuff like that. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like it was so cool. Like top gaming moments.
And the fact
that now that I'm playing it again, I'm like, I just got to get down there. It's not nearly as cool.
The fact that the Abyssal Woods is so sparse too. There's barely any enemies. You don't have torrent. It just became so much about the vibes and super spooky.
They've never done anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, going back to that dichotomy between the explorers and the boss fighters, the boss people hate that shit because they can't get to the boss quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I know, but like try something, and I'm like, no, it's okay.
It's called emotion.
They can like different stuff. Yeah, exactly. Grow up. I wouldn't trade that. But now that I have to go back to it, it's not as cool. It's not quite as fun.
I have just such a problem too on my subsequent playthroughs where I still just push to every corner, and it's something I need to stop doing. Where I don't need to beat every enemy in this legacy dungeon. I can just sprint to the end and know I want to go grab this one book over there, but it's so hard for me to rewrite my brain.
Yeah, and sometimes I can't remember if I've been there before, and sometimes you'll find new stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good feeling.
It's pretty rare, but like doing Ballarat again, which we did for the show, the first Legacy dungeon, the DLC. I found like an area I hadn't found before. I just missed it. No excuse. It was just me being silly, but that was really fun. It was a little bit of that first playthrough feeling in the second playthrough.
Jay had one more question for us. So many great fucked up little guys. Which one was your favorite, and why is it the Oracle Envoy?
Oracle Envoy's great. Love that fucked up little guy. He's super, super good.
It's one of those things where it's like you want to see inside the jar, and then you do, and you're not sure how you feel about it. I kind of want to see what's underneath that head thing.
Yeah. Like if they're shaped like Weeble Wobbles, like they have Weeble Wobble flesh.
They can't fall down though.
No, they can't.
Yeah,
they look like they can't fall down. They can also fly sometimes.
They fly now.
Those things. Yeah, they fly now.
If the Oracle Envoy started flying in the DLC, maybe that would have been too far. I don't know.
The no Oracle Envoys. That's how you can tell Miquella's dynasty was never going to work. Not
heralding a new god there.
Yeah, not doing that for some reason. Favorite fucked up little guy in the whole game is tough. It's either the Finger Creepers, which is my favorite scary design.
Yeah.
Or it's the Albinaurics who do the cartwheels, because that was the biggest fucking excuse me
super stylish
moment I had in the game. Yeah, just we're doing this. This is great. I took out my phone and took video of it. It was so shocking to me that it happened.
Yeah, if there were Olympics in the lands between, the Albinaurics would be placing.
They'd be doing really well. The ones that can use their legs.
Not the breakdancing. I don't know.
The other ones do bobsled only.
Yes.
And
the Albinauric bobsled team is such a come from behind story.
Well, it's a bobsled archery team. Like it's kind of crazy that they combine those two events, but they're doing both track and field, and they did it.
Yeah, I guess my favorite one. I have such a soft spot for the Vulgar Militia.
Short Kings.
In my head, they're just cussing, and they have like these little voices that are like kind of nasally and weaselly, and they're always like spitting and kicking at shins. In my head, that's what they're so vulgar. So I just see them and I can't help. Even if they're beating me up, I'm just like, you guys are all right with me.
They're kind of like the jockeys from the Simpsons jockey episode, maybe.
Or the Always Sunny jockeys too.
Oh, sure, yeah. Like anytime you have a jockey, that's the Vulgar Militia are basically jockeys.
Yeah.
The Lollipop Clan from Wizard of Oz. Those little tiny, like three identical little pop eyelets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite boss in the DLC, Gary?
It's either Midra or Metter.
Okay.
Those are my two favorite. It's a combination of vibes and story and play.
Yeah.
For both of those, there are ones I think are better collections of moves. Like are more better tuned fights, but that's never that's not my favorite thing. The Midra story and cutscene and everything is incredible.
Oh yeah.
And I also think that's a really good fight. Metter is a little bit less good of a fight, but I was so shocked to find that down in the bowels of the earth.
It has a cool soundtrack too, which
great soundtrack.
I don't say that about a lot of bosses in Elden Ring, because a lot of it just kind of is blended into that one Elden Ring sound in my head. But Metter's got some like discordant stuff happening, which really got me excited right when it started.
Yeah, really, really cool. And just like presentation wise, like you go down that long, go down that stairwell. It's into this place that like should not be. It's really good.
Something very important lore wise is happening here. You just see a ball of fingers.
And completely optional. Like, just this side, you don't even have to find that area and do that.
Yeah.
It's
I forget, like the
really
total number
powerful.
of bosses you actually have to beat is only like 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, cause you don't even have to fight the dancing, the spirit.
Yeah. Mesmer, Radon, Ramina.
Relena. Yeah. Relena.
You can skip
Mesmer,
Relana.
Radon. You can skip Relana. Shit. Yeah.
Yep.
Mesmer. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yes. You can skip the hippopotamus if you're going through the church as well.
Yeah. Is there a mid boss in the? No, I was the gank. You had to fight the companions.
Oh yeah.
That's the other one. Yeah, I knew there was a mid boss partway through the final dungeon, but I think that's it. I think it's just the 4.
Who is your favorite NPC from the DLC?
Probably Tillier.
Yeah.
Thilier. However that's pronounced. And I like Ansbach a lot as well. Ansbach is really solid, but I like the story of the poison sleep boy.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. I'm a real sucker for Saint Trina. If I were in any of these worlds, like I would just want the eternal sleep, you know, the peace of being asleep forever.
Yeah.
That seems like the best deal to me. So that is probably who I would worship in this. And I would fight the big pile of goop to get down there and get the good sweet sleep.
Oh yes. I guess I got one more question. What would you want FromSoft's next game to be? Sequel to a certain series or brand new IP?
So I think that there's like what I want and what I think it'll do. I will be very surprised if we don't see more Elden Ring. They made more money than anything.
Yeah.
You know, and even though they are a company with integrity, they do have shareholders.
Yep.
You know, they do have people they're beholden to. I will be shocked if we don't see Elden Ring 2.
There will be 10 different Elden Ring animated series. There will be the lunchbox.
It's you know, and it makes sense. It's just the capitalist world we live in. People don't want that necessarily to be true because there are a lot of discourse. People are like, oh, this is the peak of this type of game. You know, you can't do anything else with this formula.
Yeah.
You know, I am always of the opinion like that may be true, but also I'll just explore new spaces. You know, as a Dark Souls 2 liker, like I would just like more levels and more, you know, more lore and more bosses, more builds. I'll take all that stuff. Like, you know, I'm not so blooded with games that bums me out.
Yeah.
That's what I think will happen. In terms of what I want to happen, I would like to see them try a different genre. I think that'd be really cool.
Western.
Yeah, like we're not a. And that'd be fucking sick. I wasn't thinking of thematic genre. I was thinking of like gameplay genre.
Ah, okay.
But that would be really cool. But I mean, you know, they've been on this Souls-like to character action kind of spectrum for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, with things. And I would love to see like what would and they used to do more stuff than that. They had the Kingsfield, they had like JRPGs, they had action games, like more traditional action games. Like what would a turn-based FromSoft game be like?
Exciting.
You know, what would Elden Ring Tactics look like? You know?
Yeah.
I would be curious to see that. I don't necessarily think that's the kind of risk they'll take because of the first point though.
Well, I think that they've kind of fallen into that, you know, like Christopher Nolan thing almost, where one for the studio and then one for me. Like, yeah,
maybe.
All right, here's Elden Ring 7, but also I'm going to make a small VR game.
Yeah. I still haven't played Deracine. I would like to play that.
I tried to play it and I ultimately just didn't enjoy it, but VR is still just like in its infancy. So I appreciated what was going on there. I much more preferred watching Vati Video's 50-minute story summary.
Yeah. That's what basically what I did with Armored Core as well.
Yeah.
Like as a non-Armored Core guy.
One last comment from my wife for you. She says, can you hurry up and finish Best Quality Vacuum? Oh,
that's very sweet. Thank you. We can't. There is. I think that show would like. Here's Inside Baseball. I think that show would be better and better paced if it was weekly. We just can't do it.
Yeah.
Right now with how many things we do. Like right now that show we're really far ahead on it. We're almost at the end of season 4 in terms of recording.
So good.
But we have to do that because we record, 2 episodes of Bonfireside Chat and then 2 episodes of Real Lich Hour every other week on top of everything else.
Yeah.
So that would be sick. I would like that. And it's taking all my strength not to just keep watching.
I know Cole kind of gave up on that.
He did. Yeah. He decided to watch to the end and I was so fucking close. I've almost done it, but I've stayed strong just because of trying to stay good for work.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it when my friends are talking to me and I just tell them to be quiet because we got to save that conversation. It's all about work. We can't talk about this when we're having fun right now, guys.
You have the disease. You are fully disease pilled. When I first met you, you were podcasting as well, but it wasn't like this.
Yeah, well,
you've gone the sickness.
Yeah,
as well. You'll not see the light of heaven.
You better not be talking about Elden Ring over there, Tyler.
Welcome. Yeah. The more people who are infected, the better it is for me.
Well, I'm sure anyone listening to this is at least a little infected with Elden Ring as well.
Yeah. And hopefully they're enjoying it without necessarily having to make content about it. Content optional is a sweet place to be.
Do you have any upcoming unfilmables? What movies do you know that you can talk about?
So the next
This is just
one
for me.
coming
This is
out-
just me wanting to know.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
The next one that's coming out is about Tales from the Crypt. 3 episodes of that. That was a Gary pick.
Okay.
The 3 episodes are The Ventriloquist Dummy, Television Tear, and Cutting Cards. That show was very important to me as a kid. I've been rewatching them now. We're recording about it this week. And it's cheesy. It's fun, but it's super cheesy fun. And then I don't know what Cole's picking next time, but stuff that I want to get in for the future. I want to do an episode on Alien. The first Alien, pretty bad. I want to do an episode on the 2nd season of Channel Zero. I don't know if you've watched that show before.
No.
That is, I'm going to say this phrase, but it's actually good. It's a sci-fi original. And it's a Shudder original. It started on Sci-Fi, it became Shudder.
Okay.
So yeah, but it's I'm going to say another thing, and this isn't bad. It's vaguely based on creepypastas. So again, it's good though. It's the people who wrote it are good. Each season is taking one of those kind of ideas and spinning it out.
Okay.
It's really good. The 2nd season is great. The 2nd season is really, really good. It's called No End House, and it's phenomenal. So I'd like to do that. And then there's a couple horror movies that have slipped through the cracks I've never seen.
Okay.
That I really want to use this as an excuse. So I've never seen It Follows.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
That's on my list of things to pick. I really want to do Let the Right One In at some point. Yeah, those are things that I'm probably going to pick for the next half year or so.
You going to be checking Alien Romulus out anytime soon?
No, I got off of Alien at Alien 3.
Okay.
The Prometheus.
What about
and stuff,
Ron
I've heard that they're
Perlman?
kind of good. It's okay.
That basketball
He's all
scene
right.
is legendary in 4.
I have seen Resurrection. I just don't remember it very well.
Do you remember everything that's relevant then?
I do remember the relevant things about it. I remember being in a room with a tank full of half-formed Ripley's.
And Dan Hedaya is wearing a chest sweater. That's all that really matters.
Yes. That was sick. But other than that, I don't know. I love Alien 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And to me, that's okay. It didn't need to keep going.
I will say Romulus is probably my favorite one since the original 2. If you're curious, it's got Fede Alvarez, who directed Evil Dead 2013, which is pretty good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But what?
Nice. Yeah, that's good to hear.
So our listeners are probably already familiar with you, but if they wanted to find more of your shows, one of your 10 other shows, however many shows you got, how could they do so?
We are at duckfeed.tv, independent podcast network. We mostly talk about video games and pop culture. We do a bunch of different shows. They're all on there. And roughly, most of them are free. We have a couple of them that are behind the Patreon paywall, patreon.com/duckfeedtv. $5 a month gets you almost everything. And it's backwards compatible. So you get all the stuff that happened before, it gets more valuable. We understand it's always a little weird when you have something that used to be free and then you charge for it. So we don't want anyone to be fucked over because they can't afford it. So if you can afford the $5 a month once a year and you catch up, that's fine with us. Yeah. And that's where you can find my stuff. And then I am on and off of Blue Sky, but sometimes I'm on Blue Sky at my name.
Okay.
Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to do all the social medias. I just don't have the time for it. I'm too busy making sure people aren't talking about Elden Ring without me.
Yeah, on patrol.
Yep.
And watching
I have a whistle I just blow.
videos about what if the tree was a fungus. Yeah. You gotta get a medical alert bracelet.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Gary. If y'all are curious, go check out Real Itch Hours. Go check out Bonfireside Chat. Best quality vacuum. Watch out for fireballs. Unfilmable. Monster in My Pocket.
Podcast.
Yeah, one of those.
You can check out Monster in My Pocket if you want as well, but we have nothing to do with the original property.
Don't you have a cat named Pocket?
I do have a cat named Pocket.
Yeah. There's a monster
Don't
in
check
your
out
cat.
Pocket. He lives in my house. That's too parasocial.
Yeah, check out all those other things. Thanks again, Gary, and thanks for everybody listening. This has been Elden Dogs. Write a review if you want to. Mostly just make sure no one's talking about video games without you, because that's wasting content.